What is up, guys? I'm John Camacho. Thank you so much for watching. And today in this episode, we are going to be talking about the Houston Texans 2023 draft class. Spoiler alert, they absolutely crushed it. All right, you draft a future superstar with the second overall pick. Yeah, it doesn't really matter what you did with the rest of your class. You nailed it. But hey, beyond that, still had a pretty stellar draft class. So let's put it up here real quick for you guys. I'm going to put the screen on, put me in the top right corner there for you guys. All right, so first thing we're going to look at here, obviously C.J. Stroud crushed it. Don't need to talk about him too much. We know what he is. We know what he does. Will Anderson, same story. I'm going to get back to him because I want to talk about that trade in a little bit. But, let's just go down the line here. And I'm not going to worry about, the day 3 picks here. I don't really care too much about that. But let's dive deep into Juice Scruggs. I should know his name. I should know his last name. I didn't. Sorry about that, guys. Juice got hurt over here. I'm pulling it up. I looked it up. After 3 months of hamstring injury, comes in the lineup, and right now he is the starting center. He's the starting left guard for the Houston Texans going into the divisional round of the playoffs as I am recording this right now. And look, I'll be honest with you guys. I know, PFF has him at a 51 grade. I don't care. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. This dude coming off injury, getting into the starting lineup, and what I assume getting better every day. You drafted a rookie offensive lineman in the 3rd round. You didn't expect him to be a day 1 starter, all right? You be what you can afford to be in the NFL. And as a 3rd round pick, hey, you're starting. That is a win for the Houston Texans. That's a win for Juice. That's a win all around, all right? He's just going to get better. Hopefully he becomes a mainstay in that offensive line. If that happens, that's a huge, huge dub, all right? Going down the line, Tank Dell, another 3rd round pick, absolute baller. Absolute baller, all right? This dude has been a beast. Obviously, gets hurt blocking. That was a huge, huge loss. I'm going to pull it up because I don't know exactly what his grade was. You want to shit on me in the comments for using PFF? Look, that's fine. I'm not a PFF stan. I'm not going to sit here and tell you PFF is the best end-all, be-all grades for players, but it puts it in a range, right? That's all I'm looking for. Puts it in a range. I want to know the snaps. I want to know stuff like that, especially for offensive linemen. But yeah, Tank Dell, 14th overall wide receiver. Again, when you talk about putting it in a range, probably wouldn't have been my 14th best wide receiver if I was ranking them by any means. Doesn't matter. Dude was a killer. Very, very unfortunate injury for him. I have him in a couple dynasty leagues, so very, very, very unfortunate injury in my personal opinion. But it is what it is. He's going to come back bigger, faster, stronger next year. He had an instant connection with C.J. Stroud. You're hoping that is, your rookie wide receiver, rookie quarterback that just absolutely takes off for the next 8 to 10 years, and they're just a duo that you can't stop. A little on the small side, a little worried about that, but I mean, his injury was a freak injury because he was blocking on the goal line, which is just weird in general. We don't have to talk about that. If you're a Houston Texans fan, I know that was a big loss, but hey, C.J. Stroud figuring it out regardless of the injury. Last guy I want to talk about here. Look, you had a couple other players here and there that, really aren't worth mentioning in the 4th and 5th and 6th round. But over here, put it back on the screen for you guys. Jarrett Patterson, your guard out of Notre Dame. Yeah, he started week 1. Again, that's pick 201. That's 2 picks after Tom Brady. Started week 1. Now, there were some injuries because of that, whatever. I don't care. He ends up getting hurt and is not in the starting lineup anymore, but started week 1 for you in the 6th round, offensive lineman, absolute dub, all right? So, in this draft class, you get your star quarterback, your star defensive end, top defensive player in the draft class. You get a starting offensive lineman. You get a star wide receiver. Yes, he gets hurt, but that is what it is. And another starting offensive lineman in the 6th round. 6 guys that at least make a difference for your team in year 1. That is absolutely awesome. Now, there's guys I didn't talk about. Hey, we'll see what happens with them. You're rooting for all these dudes. You never know. It's not the end-all, be-all if you're not a star year 1. What C.J. Stroud is doing is freaking insane. That doesn't happen. It does not happen. although it did kind of happen for the Texans twice in a row draft classes, because you drafted Deshaun Watson. He was kind of a baller from day one too. Doesn't happen for anybody else, all right, Texans fans? It doesn't. I don't know what to tell you. I'm sitting here, I'm a Dolphins fan, and I still don't know if Tua is good. So I don't know. Absolutely stellar draft. Before I get out of here, I do want to talk about your draft trades, because that is just like a whole story in and of itself. That's a saying, right? That's a thing? I don't know. I'm going to put it back on the screen here for you guys. This is the big trade. This is your Houston Texans trading with the Arizona Cardinals. You trade up from 12th overall to number 3 overall to land Will Anderson. I mean, just a wild move. First of all, you got that pick from the Cleveland Browns, who traded everything away to get Deshaun Watson. So Deshaun Watson just paying dividends when you're literally already replaced him with somebody who was better this year. But traded your first and third next year, and then that 12th overall pick to move up, and a second in that 2023 class, which was a very early pick. I mean, could have been another, like, the way they drafted probably would have been another star. Like, they probably would have gotten the best player available there, whoever that was. Doesn't really matter. That pick ends up being Will Levis, but that's a whole nother conversation. But hey, you traded up, you made that move. Oh, and by the way, this pick right here, fourth round pick, traded to the Eagles. Eagles traded them a 3rd round pick in the 2024 class. So this was paid for. You basically traded a first for a first and a second. Or you traded up in the first for a first and a second, and that first only looks better because when that trade was being made, I think we all thought, I think everybody, including Texans fans, probably would have said, oh man, that's a pick that's probably going to be a top 10, possibly top 5 pick. Cardinals had to be thinking the same thing, or else they probably don't do that deal. If you told the Cardinals on draft night, oh, hey, the Texans are probably are going to be in the divisional round of the playoffs, yeah, they probably don't value that first round pick quite as much as you do when you were looking at the Texans at that time. Things change really, really fast in the NFL. That pick, not nearly as valuable as it was because of C.J. Stroud, because of Will Anderson, because of how well they drafted this year. Absolutely stellar draft class. Only other thing I really want to talk about, and I'm going to pull it up here in just a second. Let's put it back on the screen. Going back and forth. Production value, boys. Production value. All right, we're going to go up. Looking at just some of the trades, traded up in the 2nd round, get your guy basically for nothing, only a couple picks. Hey, that dude's a starter, remember? And then again, going back up, traded up in the 3rd round. Hey, that dude was a superstar. Texans were aggressive. Texans made their moves. You gotta love it, man. What they're doing up there is really, really special. Let's see if there's any other interesting trades. Traded back, I guess, in the 4th round. Doesn't look super interesting on either side there. And then this was the other one that I was talking about. Just gave away your 4th round pick for a 3rd next year. That ended up being, I think, a great deal just in general, because, hey, if you didn't love whoever was going to be picked there, you stock up. You already traded away a ton of assets. You stock up for next year. Made that trade with the Cardinals look even better, in my opinion. Yeah, that's about it, guys. That's all I got. Last thing I want to say, moving into this year, hey, Texans would be look, there's only 4 teams left in the AFC, so you never know what's going to happen, but it would be pretty incredible if the Texans made a run for a Super Bowl. You got to think they're a year early. They draft like they did this year in the 2024 draft. This is a team that is competing with the Chiefs, competing with the Bills, competing with the Ravens, competing with the Dolphins, competing with all the top teams in the AFC to make a Super Bowl run. That is how quickly things change. That is how important the NFL draft is. They went from a bottom feeder in the NFL, Deshaun Watson debacle, all of the shit that happened, I don't need to go through it all, to one of the great stories in the NFL and probably a powerhouse football team for the next 10 to 15 years, as long as C.J. Stroud is throwing that rock and develops the way I think we all think he's going to. Absolutely awesome draft. Thank you so much for watching. All the YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Really, really appreciate it. We will be back. Peace.